Hello! Welcome back to Piers Rocks. What's this, I can hear you thinking? Piers is sitting next to a pile of worthless rubbish. Well, no. According to my mother, these are priceless heirlooms that need to be passed down between generations, and it's up to yours truly to fix them. First of all, let's take a look at Major Morgan, the electronic organ. I'm sure there's a joke to be made there somewhere. So the whole point of this abomination is to make horrific noises when you press the buttons, which it does pretty well. In fact, what you're supposed to do is take these cards. This one is Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Slide it up under Major Morgan's pants, if I can get it in there, so to speak, which I can't because it's all tatty and old. So beautiful. Now, being slightly serious for a moment, the lower notes, maybe not that note, these notes kind of sound alright. That's how it sounded when it was new, I think. That, it doesn't sound very good. That sounds like me trying to reach that note, and it certainly doesn't sound an octave higher than this other D. So I'll take it apart, see if I can figure out any way of making it sound less horrific. Before you ask, yeah, it has a pretty fresh battery in it. I did a test the other day with my tongue and got a fair zap out of it, and the battery is only dated from about 2020. Yeah, just do the tongue test. Just do the tongue test again. Yeah, there's plenty of volts in there. 8.77. Just to be clear, this is a entertainment video, not an instruction video. Do not try putting 9-volt batteries on your tongue at home. I did once put a 24 volts across my tongue. Not going to forget that day. So this PCB is covered by a piece of plastic, which presumably prevents the outside of this bit of presumably metal foil from making contact with the rest of the circuit board, from making contact with bits it shouldn't make contact with. Well, let's try putting some isopropanol on it. With luck, it won't make any more noise again. Oh, there's a lot of filth on that. But then, you'd be pretty filthy if you've been stored in my mum's loft for however many years. Let's do the same thing on here. If this was something I actually cared about, I might be a little bit more careful with it. Right. Does it sound any better now? He says, throwing alcohol all over his bench. Let's see, shall we? That doesn't sound much better. Next, I'll have a closer look at the electronics. In particular, I'm suspicious of the speaker in here, that it might just have rotted away and it may need a new speaker, but let's take a closer look inside. There's somewhere to probe. I'll probe these wires when they go into the speaker, and we can have a look at the waveform that's being produced. Right, let's have a look what we get with this horrible D. Oh my goodness, it's awful. What frequency do we have? 500 hertz. I mean, the signal looks, oh, that's interesting. See, the frequency's dancing around all over the place. You may not be able to see that. But from 450 up to 550-ish. It's gone very low now. Oh, nearly made 600. I think it's just to do with how good a connection you get from this super sketchy keypad and the PCB traces themselves. I've obviously given them a bit of a clean already with some alcohol, but the tissues and Q-tips I was using were coming away filthy, so I think I just need to keep going. I'm just a bit worried there's some sort of coating on here that I'm going to end up rubbing off if I clean it too vigorously. It's got a pattern. You can see the pattern on some of the keys where there's a bunch of vertical lines and then a circle around it. I'm guessing that used to be made up of some kind of conductive material, some kind of carbon or whatever, and that's just wearing off, and therefore this isn't making good contact against the gold fingers down here. I've got some conductive carbon paint, so I may just put a blob on each of these pads and spread it out. So I thought I'd show the conductive paint and what I've done to the back of the keypad. So this is the conductive paint that I used to fix up old keyboards. Just got it off Amazon, randomly chose this one, and it's really thick black goopy stuff. I mean, there's tons on the end of that, so what I tend to do is I just put a big blob on something I'm going to throw away, like this bit of plastic, and then you just very lightly dab a Q-tip in it and just put a smidge on what you're wanting to put the paint on. So I'll put it in there. I don't know how visible that, you can just about see that. And then I take the dry end of a Q-tip and tend to spread it around, and that end of the Q-tip sort of soaks up some of it, so it doesn't end up very goopy and you get a nice thin layer. It's pretty conductive stuff. If you get it where you don't want, it will, it will definitely conduct. If you accidentally get it across a pair of traces you don't want connectivity between. And it's also quite makes marks that will take quite a while to wash off, like I've got on my fingers here. Anyway, I've done and put some conductive paint on the back of this bit of foil. It looks to me as if it's dry. It won't be. I leave this stuff for 24 hours, so I'm gonna have to wait 24 hours with bated breath to see if this is going to fix Major Morgan, the electric organ, or whether I failed. So you won't, because you're going to find out right now. Let's see how Major Morgan is getting on with this. Well, that's not a good start, was it? Oh, that is much better. Much better. That's a single tone. I don't know if it's the right tone, but it sounds about an octave above the other D to me. Yeah, I mean, it's still a bit warbly if you don't press it properly, but if you press it properly, now making good contact. So that was clearly the problem, that whatever conductive material was originally printed on this was wearing off. Maybe I cleaned a bunch of it off with IPA as well, but I'm going to put it back together. So I'm still hitting some problems. When I put it back together, when I press A, it often plays B instead. I think because this piece of mylar, whatever it is a little bit creased. So when I push A down and it's in the case, it pushes enough down on B to play B. So I'm a little bit reluctant to iron this because I might ruin it, but I'm going to iron it. I think that was a success. I placed this between two sheets of paper and then ironed it with the iron set to 2 for I don't know, 5 or 6 periods of 10 seconds constantly moving the iron. There's still a bunch of creases, particularly in the top here, but I've got rid of the worst one around B that was causing me problems. And then if I put this back on, put the front back on, so we're now only getting A when we play A. So I think that's good enough. I can now actually screw it back together. So I'll play test it with Row, Row, Row Your Boat. Fabulous. There we have Major Morgan and his phenomenal organ. Next we have the Fisher-Price Music Box record player from 1971, so this predates me. We have a bunch of records here with children's nursery rhymes on it, and you turn and wind it up at the front here. You choose your record wisely. You put the stylus on the record in the right place and you turn it on. Sounds alright to me. It's clicking a little bit and it may be slightly slower than it's supposed to be, but on the whole it sounds pretty good for being 53 years old. I'll take it apart, have a quick look inside, see if there's anything I can fiddle with. So I found some other lunatic on YouTube who'd taken one of these apart, and I was right. It is this piece here that's problematic. He said you have to pull the whole case outwards so that this will all slide over, and presumably it will slide up. So shout out to Trevor of Trevor's Bench. Let's see if I can get this apart. Now in terms of tightening the spring will be in here. And this is not coming off. At least I'm not taking it off because it's riveted in place. So you can see a couple of the rivets here holding the case for the spring on it. So I apologise for the annoying clicking. I'm just gonna oil with a very light oil. This is some sewing machine oil, various bits of the mechanism. Ah! That wasn't very good, was it? Seized up on me. Oh, that's ticking a lot faster now. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So I think that's a massive improvement. I'd still like to find where the ticking is coming from and get rid of that. So I may have found the cause of the ticking. This wheel here, it's a very small white plastic gear that runs against this lead screw. It's split. So I can see a split all the way down here. So I think what we're hearing is the bits of the wheel are slightly misaligned, and we're hearing every time that comes round and it hits against this lead screw. I think that's the noise we're hearing. So I'm definitely not going to do anything about that. Partly because I don't trust myself to remove it without ripping the whole thing to pieces and not being able to put it back together. But also because, I mean, I'm not going to get a replacement wheel for this, and I can't 3D print it because it's far too small. for me to be able to 3D print with my 3D printer. So just going to do a bit more oiling of other bits and pieces of the mechanism. I think it's better than it was. Still clicks a lot. You'll have to do. Well, there you go. I hope you enjoyed me restoring these priceless family heirlooms to their former glory. If you subscribe to my channel, I promise I will never ever feature these toys on this channel ever again. Till next time, rock on.